Hello, ladies and gentlemen, business owners, my fellow citizens, and especially those individuals who lost family members on Ethiopian Air, on Indonesian Air, who almost lost their lives on Alaska Air, and so many other Boeing issues that are going on. We have all the data. My name is Daryl Guberman. This is a Saturday. Just got done working out. I'm not putting on a suit and tie. It's hotter than Hades. Please forgive my professionalism. Nobody knows what professionalism is. And when I was there June 18th at the subcommittee for the DHS subcommittee, inquisitioning David Calhoun, $32 million, he knew about his salary. He knew about how many employees he had, but he did not know. Well, first off, he didn't know what an escape was. An escape, ladies and gentlemen, is a rejection. They try to sweeten your air to making it an escape so that it doesn't sound as bad to you, the general public. Well, it is bad. He didn't even know what it was. And I expose that factor. I can run Boeing better than he can. And this board should be eliminated. They should clean house without a doubt. I've seen it many times in aerospace, but Boeing especially. In 2019, Ralph Nader who lost, and Ralph, if you're listening to this, my heart goes out to you. He lost a daughter on one of those airplanes. I think it was Ethiopian Air. And he said that, and it wasn't that he was taking it out on David Calhoun. David Calhoun has an accounting degree. He is an accountant, not an engineer, an accountant. Give him a pad, give him a pencil, and he knows how to cut back people because he worked with Jack Welch at GE. Jack Welch, Mr. Six Sigma, which really doesn't work unless it's in a robot facility. If you have human beings, Six Sigma is definitely hard to do and to keep up with. And most people will say, Daryl, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, okay, fine. I've got 40 plus years in quality aerospace, medical implants, materials, printing, and plastic distribution, where I dealt with everybody. So I'm going to say this. This video today is about quality expert Daryl Guberman exposes the Department of Justice, the Department of Homeland Security, and the Federal Aviation Administration lax with Boeing because all sit on the same board. Yes, they're very lax with Boeing. I read this morning about how the DOJ may let Boeing off the hook for breaking its little tiny disposition about quality and about trying to secure what they're doing as far as not having escapes. It's craziness. And we're going to go ahead real quick. You have ANSI, the American National Standards Institute, who is a private, not-for-profit, non-governmental corporation, and it has both federal agencies and corporations on board. The American National Standards Institute and the American National Crediting Board, ANSI, took over complete control. Also, you have the factor that between 2015 and 21, ANSI ANAB was watched over and controlled by communist China. Now, this gentleman I'm going to introduce in this next placard has been involved with our quality since 1994, ladies and gentlemen. You can't make this up. And here it is. Randy Doherty, then the vice president of ANAB, the chairman and principal on the 990 tax report for the IF, the International Accreditation Forum, incorporated in Delaware, handed over the IAF, which I told you is incorporated in Delaware, to this communist Chinese national Zhao Jinwu. He was also the chief executive of the China National Accreditation Services, which certified the laboratory that released the COVID virus in Wuhan, China, BioLevel 4 lab. He is mandated by his country of origin, Communist China, to take anyone's data through the China National Intelligence Law. Article number 7, here's ANSI taking over ANAB. You have federal agencies like the DHS, FAA, DOJ, DOD, FBI, Lockheed, Boeing, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson for corporations. You've got federal agencies and corporations together. Now we hit upon Boeing. Boeing sits on ANSI's board. Boeing sits on ANSI's board by the Department of Justice, all right? We have a very special guest. We have Merrick Garland here from the Department of Homeland, from the Department of Justice. Department of Justice sits by Boeing. We also have Homeland Security sitting by Boeing, sitting by the DOJ, sitting by the Department of Justice. We have a very special guest. We have Alejandro Mayorkas And we also have one of his employees, ex-employees, I think he may have retired a couple years ago, but nevertheless, he was sitting on the DHS, and his title is Office of Standards, actually Executive Director, Office of Standards, U.S. Department of Homeland Security. Now, I was told by a government, somewhere high up in the government when I was in Washington on June 18th, most recently about the David Calhoun inquisition from the DHS. And he said that an employee of the government cannot be paid by a private company like ANSI. And if they do sit on the board, which they shouldn't because of improprieties, then they have to get supervisory authorization. Well, here's a guy who's making $262,000 tax-free, who sits on the DHS as an employee of the federal government getting his federal salary. And he gets it tax-free. It used to be royalty payments, which IRS has no bearing on royalty payments. It could be tax, not tax, who knows? But regardless, he sits as a federal employee on a private corporation getting both salaries. You have the factor that here you go. You have IAF, you have Boeing and Homeland Security. They're all sitting together, okay, on the American National Standards Institute and American National Crediting Board. I call it ANSI ANAB because it's true. In 2018, as I showed you, they took over each other. You also have the Federal Aviation Administration with Mike Whitaker. Where's Mike? I think Mike's over here. There he is, Mike Whitaker. Okay, you have the FAA. So now you have the FAA, you have the DOJ, you have the DHS, you have the FAA, and they're very laxed with Boeing because they all sit together on ANSI ANAB's board. You can't make this up. The reason why I do this is, number one, I sat in the audience on June 18th, and I watched those family members holding up pictures of their loved ones. And I watched David Calhoun come in all choked up. Same type of acting that Dennis Muhlenberg, same stuff. When the people were holding up their family members, I watched both of them. They're very good actors. It's disgusting. The one who I liked the most asking questions was Senator Hawley. He brought it out to the forefront. You have an accountant. Do you think he really cares about those people? I can't get inside of his head, but do I want to? Maybe I could add some intelligence there because he did not know the function or operation of the business. I guess, when I was in aerospace, on the bathroom wall, it used to say, fuck up, move up. I think David Calhoun must have played a god-darn good golf game at GE. One of his friends at Boeing saw him and pulled him over because he didn't have what it takes. And Ralph Nader in 2019, you can look it up on YouTube, was questioned about David Calhoun. And he said that David Calhoun is an accountant. He doesn't know what to do. And he was correct. So David Calhoun was on its board, Boeing, from 2009 to present. He was a CEO. And by the FAA in 2009 making Boeing an FAA regulator, that means that he is an FAA administrator. They're not telling you that in the news media because the FAA came in and made Boeing inspectors FAA inspectors. Boeing employees, FAA inspectors. But they were getting their salary from Boeing. You find anything wrong with that? 203-556-1493 or Daryl, TQRS@yahoo.com. I thank you. And my heart goes out to the people, the victims of those air crashes, and also Alaska Air. Thank you.